Becky, and I'm going to go through what I was doing on September 11th, 2001. I was 26 years old, just celebrated my 26th birthday, September 4th, and I was working 2 jobs, living in a studio apartment, no pets yet. I was working at a shoe store at the mall and a car rental at the airport. I just started the airport job. And so I was working pretty much 2 part-time jobs nonstop, 14 days working, day off, another 14 days working, day off. So for about 2 years, you would not have liked me because I was exhausted all the time. And so pretty much I got up like a zombie in the morning, got dressed, ate my breakfast, drove to work, to the airport job at the car rental. And I noticed that there was a music playing on the radio. It was non-stop talk about this plane crash in Pennsylvania. And so I showed up to work and asked my manager, what was going on with all this talk on the radio and no music. And she's like, "Oh, Becky, you missed all the excitement. It was like total chaos when all the airplanes in the country just landed because 4 airplanes in the whole country got hijacked. So everybody in the world, wanted rental cars because nobody wants to ride the bus like the airline provides when there's a diverted flight. 200, 500 people wanted cars, and we don't have that many. And so we pretty much sold out all day. I sat in the corner, and my manager told everybody we were sold out. And so my manager told me to go to the bar at the airport and watch the TV there. So I go to the bar, and I was just in total shock about these 2 buildings were on fire, and airplanes have crashed into them. And people were saying, it felt like watching a movie. It's like so shocking. You're just numb, and you're like, this ain't a movie. This is real. And then while I was watching, the first tower came down. So I went back to my desk to my manager, and so she went to the bar to watch the TV. She comes back like half hour later and says that the second tower fell down. And there was news about, the Pentagon too, but nobody knows where the Pennsylvania crash plane, where they were headed. And so that's pretty much what I did on September 11th, was sit in the corner, and my manager told people that we were sold out and watching it on TV at the bar. And the lady at the car rental next door, her son worked at the World Trade Center. And so she was worried sick all day. Was he alive? Was he dead? Was he hurt? And so we found out the next day that he was okay. When the first plane hit the towers, that he was in the second tower, and he's like, "That's it. I'm out of here. He got out." And then the second plane struck, and it hit the floor that he was working on. And so it took him all day to get home. And so he called his mother, the coworker next door, that he was safe. And so she told us the next day. And so I don't know anybody else that was in the World Trade Center or was in the plane crash or anything. So I have no personal connection. And then I was watching TV at home once I got home, and they're talking about, the terrorist attack and the hijacking, and how the one person that gave the tickets to the terrorists, their airline tickets, she committed suicide, which is very sad. And so they came around to the why, and they were showing pictures of people in foreign countries, screaming, "Death to America," burning our flag, chanting "Death to America, Death to America," and something about the terrorists did this World Trade Center attack over Israel. And they're like, what? Nearly 3,000 people died over Israel? I was like, that's a country clear on the other side of the world. I mean, what has that got to do with us? And why do these terrorists hate the World Trade Center so much? I mean, it's just a building in New York City. I mean, there's like a ton of them. Lots of skyscrapers in that city. Like, why that particular one? Why did they bomb it in 1993 too? It's like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I can't really say I know much about American foreign policy because I don't really visit foreign countries a lot. I mean, I've seen the border of Canada and Mexico where there's a lot of tourists that, you know, spend a day there and then go back to the United States. I spent 2 weeks in England, a day in Paris, taking a bus tour, and I didn't like pick up this hatred for Americans. Of course, we blended into because, you know, we're in Western countries. And I met immigrants like from all over the world, from Pakistan to India to Vietnam to China and the Philippines and El Salvador, Ecuador, Poland. I had customers from Ukraine. I had customers from Belarus, I think. I had someone at work that was from Egypt. I have a relative that's from Lebanon. There are people from South Africa and Australia, and family member adopted people from, or kids from Bolivia, and my nephew's Chinese. And the sense I get from immigrants is they love America. I mean, even people from the Middle East, they love America. I mean, it's a wonderful place. So why these terrorist groups hate us so much, I mean, I can't understand or explain. I mean, Israel is not like that special in America. I mean, yes, it's the holy land of Christianity and Judaism and Muslims here. But, you know, it doesn't affect our day-to-day life. I mean, it's not in the news. It's not in our newspapers. I mean, books are not written about it. I mean, it's not in our TV shows. It's not in the movies. It's like nowhere. I mean, it's just another country on the planet. And yes, I know a lot of politicians like say they support Israel, like that's something special. I mean, politicians give foreign aid to a lot of countries. I mean, I don't know what is so special about Israel other than, you know, the homeland of 3 religions. And then after the attacks, you know, life, you know, suddenly, you know, people moved on, and there's more security at the airport, and everywhere there are flags flying. I think some people or tourists that were visiting at that time were like amazed, like all these American flags just appeared out of nowhere, you know, in the clothing stores and apparel. I mean, I got this pin right after September 11th. I mean, it's a pin that I stuck on my necklace. I mean, jewelry and clothes and like flags were just everywhere. I mean, all Americans just suddenly became patriotic, just like they are on the 4th of July. And people are like, wonders of this. Like, well, I wasn't surprised. I mean, that's the way we are. I mean, every 4th of July, everybody wears, patriotic stuff. I mean, we are all Americans, And it's hard to understand, like, why these terrorist groups, hate us so much. What has Israel and America done that's so terrible that these nearly 3,000 people deserve to die a horrible death? I mean, a lot of Americans just don't get it. I mean, is it because we have a superpower? I mean, that's been going on since the Cold War. Americans act arrogant when they visit foreign countries because, people who visit foreign countries are going to be like, people with money, and of course, because they're going to be arrogant and, as they say, the bad American. I mean, I don't visit that many countries to really grasp, how people think of us other than people I run into that immigrated here. People that I worked with and customers and tourists that come in, because I worked in customer service like 15 years. And it's like, we just don't get it. I mean, is it envy? I mean, you like our prosperity? Because terrorists don't seem to mind our technology. They like our guns, they like our cell phones, they like our computers, they like our internet. I mean, it's hard to grasp everything here. I mean, is it our prosperity? That, we have so many freedoms that, other countries don't have? Because if, a country wants prosperity, pretty much you got to have a stable economy. If you want a stable economy, you have to have a stable political system. I mean, you have to change leaders without, bloodshed and civil wars and revolutions and military coups. And you have political stability, you got to have a strong military. I mean, they have to be able to withstand, invasion from without and riots from within. That, defeat anybody who would dare try to take over the government. In order to have a strong military, you have to basically have cultural unity, which is what America has. I mean, the freedoms we have today, our ancestors fought for. I mean, our ancestors fought an 8-year war to declare their independence from Great Britain. And further down the road, our ancestors, fought for unions. They fought for women's suffrage. They fought for civil rights. They fought for affirmative action. They fought for discrimination and desegregation. And they fought for sexual harassment. I mean, they fought marching down the street. They fought in the courts. They fought in lobbying politicians to, change the laws. I mean, even now, we got Black Lives Matter, trying to change, police policy. I mean, how police, arrest people because they're getting tired of, all these people dying. I mean, being arrested is not supposed to be a death sentence. I mean, it's just the way we are. And I know a lot of politicians, try to spread this democracy and get people to vote like they did in the War of Terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'm sure people are like, okay, we voted. Now what? No, wait, how do we run this government when they're so accustomed to dictatorships and warlords? I mean, their culture is like completely different from ours. I mean, what do they know about democracy? I think a lot of politicians forget that, we fought for our democracy. We fought for our independence. We fought for the rights that we have. They didn't. We're just handing it to them on a silver platter and expect them to cherish it as much as we do. I mean, we cherish it because it was fought for. Our ancestors fought it, and we're fighting it today. If we see injustice, we speak out about it. We don't remain silent, generally speaking. I mean, if you go back far enough, we almost got a Kingdom of America or Empire of America in the early days of our country. I mean, we had George Washington, who, great general, defeated the British, with French help. And our first government was the Articles of Confederation, which wasn't working out so well. And so the military officers and soldiers decided to do a military coup and crown George Washington as King of America, or Emperor America. He could have had his choice. And General Washington showed up at this coup meeting with a speech. He, brought out his glasses, made a joke, I need my spectacles to read my speech because I'm so old. Spectacles are what we call glasses now. And so, summarizing here in his biography I read, his speech was much longer, and he pretty much said, my soldiers did not fight and die to overthrow a king, to replace him with another. There will be no king of America. Not me, not anybody else. And the military coup ended with that speech. And people ask me the definition of power. That's power. And the military coup with one speech. That is power. I mean, when Martin Luther King Jr. died, or was shot, I should say, 200 American cities went up in flames. That's power. And I think often politicians forget that. We cherish our democracy because it was fought for. George Washington said, we did not fight to crown ourselves king. We fought for freedom, and all men are created equal. That's what we fought for. And I think I'm sure a lot of you are suffering from too much information. So I will just end it saying, always remember September 11th, just like people who heard about Pearl Harbor will always remember that. So I'll say, check out my other videos. Bye.